Now in today's video, we're going to be talking about why and how I got started in real estate. Now this is just some background on me and maybe shares a little insight into how I think and what led me into my career as a real estate investor and the things that I've learned along the way. Now I got to say that my career or background in real estate really started with flipping cars. Okay, when I was young, I worked with a auto body specialist who was also a car dealer. And what he used to do was buy salvage vehicles, cars that were wrecked, fix them up, and resell them to the public, right? So that's a lot like flipping real estate. You buy a distressed home, renovate it, make it better than what it was, and sell it to the public. So I had already some experience with working with my hands, being able to take something that looked damaged, bring it back to life, make it into something that people will value. And around the same time that when I was in high school, I was doing this, and at the same time, my brother had just gone to college, and he had bought some foreclosure book. Now this is like 1998, 1999, right? So things weren't really on the internet the way that they are now. So he saw some late night infomercial that had like all of the foreclosure listings, and he bought into that book, and he was looking for foreclosures in New York City and Long Island because he was going to college in Stony Brook, New York. And he brought the book home to me to kind of go through it with me to say, hey, look at these deals. Like, how could we make something happen? And he's always had really good instincts for real estate. Even though he doesn't invest in real estate himself, he has like the mind and foresight for it. So we used to always like kind of drive out, look at some dream homes, or drive past some of these foreclosed properties and really compare the purchase price to what the market values are. And I think actually in those days, it would have been a really, really good time to start building a portfolio because the price gaps were significant and there weren't that many people who were really active in the space. I think now, since information is more accessible and there's tons of shows and everything else, there's a lot more competition, and the price gaps between the foreclosed price and the market values have pretty much come in, right? There's more people competing, so of course the spreads are going to be smaller. There's going to be people who are willing to accept, smaller and smaller spreads than people who are more seasoned for whatever reason, but that happens in every market where there's more participants. So that's where I started to kind of develop my mind and understand comps and understand that there is intrinsic value in a property just on the location or where that property is based, okay? And that you can't compare, even though two neighborhoods are right next to each other, like Jamaica Estates is right next to Jamaica Queens, but the price points are significantly different, even though it may be the difference of the street, or Garden City, New York, which is a pretty nice upper middle class neighborhood, borders Hempstead, which is a more blue-collar urban neighborhood. The two are right next to each other. You can't say, okay, this house that's on the other side of the road is going to be count the same. You have to start learning that, and that's something that I learned early on. Now, after that, there was a significant event in my family that really made me reorganize my thinking. And it was my mom selling our yard, or what we grew up knowing as our yard. My mom in 1986 bought this house in Queens Village, New York that was a little 3-bed, 1-bath colonial kind of row house that exists everywhere in the United States, right? Any old town that's 1900s has these houses. It's like the triangle square house, the one that you learn how to draw as a kid, okay? She bought one of these houses, and she bought the house because it had a yard. And this was like a side yard. And I always grew up thinking of it as a yard. It turns out that side yard was actually a second lot. And my mom purchased the house really with just thinking, hey, I have 3 young boys. I want them to play outside. I want them to be safe. So I want a house that has space for them to play. She wasn't looking at it as an investment strategy. She didn't even know that the lot that was the side yard was even buildable. And in the early 2000s, when the market started to pick up, she started getting tons and tons of solicitations, people knocking on her door asking her, does she want to sell, does she want to sell? Now, you have to remember that in 1986, she bought this house for $90,000. And in the early 2000s, she was getting offers at $120,000, $130,000 just for the yard. This bonus space that she doesn't even really need, I would say. She got it because she wanted her kids to play, and she got it because she likes the greenery and she likes the garden. So she was like, hey, you know what? Maybe I might sell this thing. So she came to my brother and I and said, hey, I'm thinking about selling the yard for $120,000. And my whole life, I didn't think that it was buildable. And she was like, yeah, there's some guy who's coming along saying that he's going to build on it, and that's what he's going to offer me. And I was like, well, you might as well grab the money, right? Because that's more than what you paid for the house. So if this idiot thinks he can build on that lot because we didn't think that you could, then he might as well build on it. And in 6 months, he built a 2-family home with a basement, a finished basement that could be rented out as a 3rd unit. He built it 6 months, sold it for $625,000. And I felt like a freaking idiot because I advised my mom to just take the money and run. I was wrong. And that really opened my eyes to looking at real estate a little closer and really educating myself. Because had I had one better internet, I think this is like 2001, 2002. So we're talking about Web 1.0, the tech bubble just collapsed, and websites still were pretty dated. You're talking about like a lot of companies having geo sites, and the internet wasn't what it was today at all. You still had to most likely dial in or dial up. It wasn't what it was. And had I had some knowledge or information, or even just picked up the phone and called an architect, right, or called the building department to verify whether or not the lot was buildable, that might have started me thinking, hey, wait a second, if this guy is going to build on this lot, then why can't I do it? Right? And that's the way that I am, right? If I feel that somebody else is doing something that I could do, I tend to try to do it myself. So if I had that thinking, or if I had more information at that time, that's what I would have done. But I just saw the dollar signs, and I wasn't living there anymore. And I said, hey, Mom, you know what? Just sell the thing and take the money and do what you need to do with it. And she did that. And you know what? If we had developed that property ourselves, we could have either kept it as a rental or sold it and generated that profit. At that time, you probably could build a house for like 120 square foot. So they built this 2,500 square foot home. Let's just call it was a $300,000 purchase or a $300,000 build, let's just say. And the yard cost $120,000. They were in for $420 and walked away with about a $200K spread in 6 months. That would have been a lot better than the $120 that we made, and we would have made $320 because it would have been the lot and the spread that was made. So that's really what made me say, no, this is something that I need to learn so that I can make better decisions in the future. So continuing with the story, I'm now in college, and me and a lot of my fraternity brothers were either graduating and weren't going to have housing on campus anymore, or were in programs that weren't accredited by the university. And because of that, we weren't guaranteed housing by the university. So one of my bros was a loan officer, and he came to the group and said, hey, you know what? Based on our credit score, we could get approved for these loans to purchase a house. Why not just buy a house and divide it up, rent out the rooms? It's going to be cheaper than the housing costs at the university anyway. So we're probably going to be able to pull some people off campus and make this work. And at that time, it was a completely different time. This was 2006. The loan industry was completely different. You could get 104%, 105% financing. So that was zero down plus your closing costs with just stated income and decent credit score, something over like a 680 or something like that. And that's what we did. And at the time, I had a little bit of money. I had my nursing agency going, so I had some cash on hand. So they came to me to put the down payment or the binder amount for this purchase. And that was my first real estate transaction that I participated in, okay? So I saw the house. I saw that by dividing it up and renting it out to the students, the numbers would work. I was going to be living in that house. So I put that binder down and I got to see the process. And within a few months, we saw that this house was cash flowing, and if we just made a few more alterations, we could really get the house cash flowing and get it up to $2,000 or more in cash flow per month. And once that was done, obviously the same group of guys were like, well, we need to do this some more. So while the getting was still good, we got another property right next to the university, and then the market crashed. So that changed everything. That changed the way that people apply for mortgages. That changed the psychology of purchasing a home. It was a disaster. 2007, 2008, 2009 was pure terror within the U.S. economic system and definitely in the real estate market. And about half of the guys that were in these deals just decided to go the career route. They didn't really want to push real estate further. They understood the value of it. They still are holders of the properties now, but things changed. It wasn't as easy, and people's careers started. They were making money other ways, and life happens. But I still saw that value, and my present-day partner still saw that value, and we decided to keep going. So we got we didn't get another property together until maybe 2012, 2013. But like I said, the market changed, so you had to be crafty and smart about how you went about things. And that's when I did my first 203K loan program, which was buying an old folks home. It was an older couple that was moving down south. Their house hadn't been renovated in 30 years. Market values were around $410,000 at the time. I picked up the house for $300,000, put about $70,000 or $80,000 worth of work. It was something like that to renovate it. Chopped it up, rented the rooms out to students again, lived in there for a bit, and then I bought another property, which was a co-op. This was just a small co-op in a really nice building that the prices were just so good that I had to take it because I knew that the neighborhood was great, the building was great and well managed, and I wanted to get out of that college house setting, and the time was right for me to transition into a new place. And since the market was so horrible, the prices were low and people weren't buying. But that put me at a standstill because at that point, there were really no alternative lenders. There was no way to take advantage of all of these foreclosures, all of these distressed properties. One, because no one had any damn money. The bank didn't have any money. And I didn't have any more money. And it was like, well, it's going to take me years to save up $300,000, $400,000 worth of money to get these really good deals. Like there were brownstone shells in Harlem going for $450,000 in 2009. That's crazy. Like these properties now go for 1.6 million, 1.8 million dead. And they were going for 450, 500, 600. And I was looking to try to get money to do one of these renovations, and nobody was lending. And it stayed that way from 2009 to about 2012. That's when the market had rallied about 3 years in a row. The Great Recession started to look like it was over. People started to get comfortable again. Money started to get invested back into real estate and real estate products. And that's where I continued my buy and flip, buy and hold real estate investment strategy. Now, ultimately, the things that are driving me as a real estate investor is that I understand that real estate is one of the greatest wealth building assets that we have in this country, if not the best one. And it is that way because it's fairly easy to get money for it. It appreciates with inflation. There's always a need for housing. Now, that doesn't mean that every piece of crap house that you buy is a good buy. There's certain neighborhoods that are ghost towns for a reason. You don't want to buy there. But if you're getting a good deal in a stable community, those stable communities are going to stay stable or expect to stay stable for the life of the property, which is 30 years, okay? So when you're looking at buying these things, it's easy to get lending for. It's easy to start a real estate business, right? You're able to be highly leveraged. There's not many things that you can get a multiple of 2 to 3 times instantly by purchasing it, right? Real estate gets paid off over time. So each month that you're collecting rent from your tenant, right? Let's just say you bought a home and you're renting it for $3,000 a month. You may be paying $2,500 in your monthly payment, $500 for your pocket. People forget that that $2,500 of someone else's money is paying down the asset that you own every single month. More and more each month till the very end, where you have this huge piggy bank of money and a bunch of money for your pocket over the years. The income increases over time, right? Your rent is going to increase year after year, keeping up with inflation, keeping up with the changing market. So the cash flow for your pocket starts to go up even more and more each year. The properties, if in a good area, will appreciate, right? So the property that you bought for $100,000 that appreciates 3% every year for 10 years is going to end up being worth $130,000, $140,000 while being paid down, while lining your pocket, if it's a good investment. And I understood this, and I said, well, the thing that I need to do is get as many homes as possible, because I want to be able to have all these rental properties, which are not much work to manage. It, literally, like, you're spending less than an hour a month managing a home. So I just had some technical difficulties. My camera cut out, had to change the battery out. But I think I was saying something along the lines of that I realized that there's all these benefits to owning real estate, and that eventually, if I could just manage my properties from afar, collect money every single month, and get a large enough portfolio that at the end of my working years, right? So if I started at 2006, I was 24 years old. So if I started at 24 years old and I collected properties for the next 40 years of my life, by the time that I'm 65, if I got one property a year, I'd have 40 homes, and a bunch of them would be paid off or close to paid off, and then spinning off cash for me, I'd have a beautiful retirement. I didn't believe in 401ks. I always thought that they were a scam. I'm probably going to do a video on 401ks and all the other, financial advisor products that are straight crap. But I felt that this would be a better way for me to kind of sail off in my golden years if I just acquired one property a year. And I felt that it wasn't much work, takes me less than an hour. If I have 40 properties that take me an hour a month, then I'm only working 10 hours a week to collect a whole boatload of rent. For example, I own a few houses in Stony Brook. I own a few houses in Bayshore. I own properties in multiple areas in New York. And the rents are fairly high, right? So if I'm collecting $40,000 a month in rent and my property is paid off, how much money do I make every month? Like $30-something thousand after taxes and homeowners insurance. So I said, well, if that would happen on just a handful of properties, like 5, what does that look like when it's 10? What does it look like when it's 50 or 100? And that's when I really started pushing. And now I'm at a point where I'm acquiring on a good month 3 properties, on a slow month 1 property every single month. So this year I should be adding about 12 to 18 assets. I'm already at 9 for this year. So if I keep pushing, I should see another 5 to 9 before the year's over. So we're halfway through the year. I'm ahead of schedule because the goal at the beginning of the year was only to do 12 deals. I was going to do 1 deal a month. But I've been rocking and rolling, and I'm going to be adding close to 15 to 18 deals onto my balance sheet this year. And next year, I'm trying to keep it at 5 a month. So if I do 5 a month, I'm going to add 60 properties to my portfolio in 2020. Okay? So once I got a good handle on the numbers and saying, okay, I could multiply this and I could speed this up and I could go bigger and I could build a better team. So what does my team look like now? It's myself, my partner, my assistant, and a real estate buyer. When I get to 5 a month, I'm going to hire 1 project manager Because then what's going to happen is that my real estate buyer, he already knows my criteria. He's going to be able to offer at will according to my parameters. My project manager is going to be able to manage every single project, and I can focus on raising money and the next bigger deal. Now, I haven't quite, announced this because it's not fully ready yet, but I formed a qualified opportunity fund to invest in opportunity zones. Now, that fund is formed, everything is registered, and everything is self-certified, but I haven't started raising money yet, so I'm not going to talk about that too much. But once I have my current system functioning at 5 properties per month and I hire that property manager, I'll be adding anywhere from $750,000 of assets to maybe $2 million of assets every single month to our account, right? So in 1 year, I'm easily adding $10 million of assets just on that operation, okay? And what is that operation going to cost me? It's only going to cost me $250,000 a year in salaries. So, if I'm adding close to $1 million of assets, or even close to $2 million of assets every single month, but that operation is costing me $250,000 a year, it's a no-brainer. This is something that I should be doing, okay? And that's where I am now. So once that operation is functioning as I just described, my intention is to focus exclusively on the big fish. $5 million, $10 million deals and higher. Because the smaller deals, the flips that I'm teaching on this channel, those are cool, and there's a lot of them. There's enough volume in the United States that can continue on every single month, adding 5. But I still want to get the bigger fish. I want those 100-unit, 200-unit buildings, because then the whole dynamic changes once again, and that's what really excites me. To learn more, to push more, to do more. The money is cool, but it's that I did it. That I did it reward that I'm looking for. That the ideas in my mind and the stories that I'm telling here played out exactly as I stated. Or maybe not exactly. I might make more money, or I might get more units, or I might get less, or I might, get hit in the head and, be a vegetable, who knows. But chances are I'm going to hit my targets, I'm going to exceed my targets, and I'm going to document the entire thing to show everybody that once you put your thinking cap on and once you start putting your ideas into motion, you're most likely going to hit them as long as you don't quit, as long as you educate yourself, and as long as you work hard. It's going to happen. Anything you put your mind to that you're committing your effort, you're committing your time, you're perfecting your craft through education or practice, you will achieve. It doesn't matter who you are. You will get further than where you started. Well, enough of that, and I'm just kind of starting to get into that rambling mode. But that's how and why I got started in real estate investing, and a snapshot into where I'm going and where the channel is going. I'm going to take you through what it's like to have the opportunity fund, what it's like to raise money, what it's like to start doing these bigger projects, how you should be organizing your real estate team so that you're able to scale it up and really grow. So you're not just buying one property a year. Remember, my vision was to buy one property a year. And now I'm buying 3 properties in a month. So, if you organize yourself properly and you shift your thinking, you're going to be able to do a whole lot more. I'm really accelerating where we're going with our company, and it's freaking awesome. And I think that it's something that everybody can do, and it's something that I want to share, and I want you to do too. So, if you haven't already liked this video, which I should have told you to like in the beginning, hit that like button. YouTube tracks how many people like a video versus how many people watched it, and if it's a highly liked video, they promote it more and more. So if you like it, you're helping me out. I'm trying to help you out by dropping some gems on how you can make some money. So please hit that like button. It means everything. Also, the comment section. You have questions, comments, you want more details, you felt that I was too vague, or there was something that I just touched on that needs more explanation, leave that in the comment section below. I want to hear from you. I want to know what you're thinking, what you're working on, what people have told you that may not be true or may need to be verified. Anything you got to say, you want to curse me out, you want to tell me that I'm a prick, let me know in the comment section below. I'll take the hate too. It hasn't happened yet, but if you want to, whatever. Leave it in the comment section below. We can argue a little bit. I like to argue, so go ahead, go for it. And if you're not already a subscriber, please hit that subscription button, turn your notifications on so that you're alerted to whenever I put out a new video. I'm going to be sitting here showing you how you can make yourself thousands to millions of dollars and change your life. Once again, thank you for joining me here at ENTP Life. Hope you've enjoyed it. Take care.